everybody, and thank you for joining us today on our Recreation Roundtable. Today, we are going to be discussing the topic of burnout and how we can prevent it, how we can catch it in our staff, and how we can be proactive in helping our staff in doing that. And I have this amazing panel with me today of three expert managers and directors that are here to give us their insight and help guide us in our journey to help keep the passion alive in recreation. So I'm going to have each of our special speakers introduce themselves, and I'd love to start with Justin. Justin, why don't you tell everybody who you are and where you're from?
Hey, 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 how's it going? Yes, thank you very much. And my name is Justin Leon. I'm the Director of Resort Experience with Westgate River Ranch, located west of Orlando, Florida. So kind of in the middle of nowhere, but such a unique property. And I oversee the activities, water park, and special events here on site. A fun fact about the property here is we are the largest dude ranch in Florida, and in fact, the largest dude ranch east of the Mississippi River. So super unique for a Florida resort and truly one of a kind. We have activities ranging from horseback rides to water slides, swamp buggies, everything that you can think on a ranch we probably have here. So I'm so excited to be here and talk about burnouts and yeah,
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yes, I haven't been to your property yet, but I've done a lot of research on it. It is very unique and very cool, and I would
indeed.
love to get there soon. So,
Please
um,
visit. It's one of a kind. Yes.
our next panelist that we have is Miss Megan, who's actually a board member that I get to be on the board with for RecNet. So I will let Megan tell you about herself.
Oh, well, thank you. Hello, my name's Megan Libby. I am the Director of Resort Experience, also at Westgate, but a little bit further north, way up north in Orlando, at Lakes. Um, so yeah, Westgate Lakes, beautiful resort. It's one of the largest resorts on I-4. So I'm in charge of it. I have a similar role to Justin, actually. So I oversee the water park, our activities, and also our entertainment on site. But my background is varied. I've been in a variety of different roles. So I've done everything from environmental to camps, theme parks, and I have quite a large cruise background. I worked on board for several years and within the corporate environment as well. So a little bit of entertainment production, a little bit of youth activities experience all around. So thank you for inviting me to this. I'm very excited.
Awesome, of course. Yeah, it sounds like you have seen, I would want to say you've seen it all, but I feel like you've seen it all, Megan.
Oh,
So,
Annie.
yeah, awesome. All right, well, our third and certainly not least, but our last panelist today is Scott, who's been a long-term member of our series slash RecNet, and I felt like he would be a great corner for our panel today. So, Scott, we'd love to hear from you.
All right, thank you, Annie. Scott Bushwhite, I'm the Recreation Director at the Quechee Club in Quechee, Vermont. So I am a little bit further north than either of you, way up in Vermont. We are a landowners association, the Quechee Club is. We have 4 seasons of activities. We have 2 championship golf courses and our tennis, our racket sports, indoor-outdoor pool, lakefront, a lot of hiking trails and mountain biking. And also in the winter, we do cross country and downhill skiing. We have our own little ski hill here. And so we're active year round and it's a lot of fun. So I've been here about 16 years total. But my background started in aquatics and continued into recreation. So I've enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed being in part of RecNet here, and thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Thanks, Scott. All right, so we're at that point, at least in my season, being up north in New York. We go through Labor Day weekend, where I know a lot of schools in Florida and in the South are gearing up, and they are starting to go back. I think Monday, I believe, a lot of schools in the South. So sort of the end of your season, kind of getting ready towards the end of my season, but burnout's a real thing, and it happens at all different properties, all different businesses, especially when you're in a peak high energy kind of environment and you're working with um, a job where you're out in the elements all the time, especially in high heat of the summer. So it's almost inevitable that it can happen. So I guess what I want to just start with was setting the stage about how you all personally define burnout in the recreation profession. So, Meg, I'll start with you. How do you feel, or how would you define burnout in our profession? Because I feel like you've seen it from a lot of different angles, whether it was on the cruise industry or at a resort, or even when you were in the corporate side of things.
Yeah, I mean, burnout is definitely real, and it's for me, it's a level beyond exhaustion. It's not really exhaustion, it's mental exhaustion. It's for me, that's it's definitely what burnout is. It's just kind of a loss of perspective, and you kind of tend to forget why you're there to start with. And
Mhm.
thing they always recommend it, because when you're on cruise ships, you work 7 days a week, 8 12-hour days. And they had a really great way. Every time we go into port, you have to go into port, because when you start to reach burnout, you really, you don't want to go anywhere. It's a level of depression, and really I feel like it mirrors depression, because you just don't want to do anything that used to really inspire you. And
Mhm.
so there was a saying, it's like, this is why we work here, right? This is why we're here, this is why we're doing it. And so for me, it's that's feeling that level of just kind of lost in the muck, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've experienced it when I was much younger, as in
Mm,
like 20 years, where you're just like you just say yes to everything too much because you're just so enthusiastic about putting yourself out there, but you
mhm.
don't realize that sometimes you don't have proper boundaries either, and you just go, 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 go. And yeah, I remember you joke, yeah, at least we joke sometimes because your schedule changes week to week. Like you don't know what day of the week it is. And it's just like a funny haha. Like I even sometimes do it now if I like take a day off to go do something with my kids. I'm like, wait, is it Tuesday? Is it Wednesday?
Mhm.
But you're right. It's so aligned with your mental health that
Mhm.
it starts to chip away at the things that are really bringing you joy, I feel, inside and outside of work.
Right.
So
And
yeah.
it bleed into your personal life, you know, what
Yes.
bleeds into your family and your personal life. And that's, I feel like, when burnout gets to its, gets to its so like desperate level.
Yeah. Justin, Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say, we're in the fun industry. That's what we do. We make fun for everybody else. And I know that personally, I enjoy my job. And when my job becomes not fun, I realize, okay, I've got to step back and see how my balance is. Am I balancing my work and my home life? So that is there. And I'm a big proponent of that balance, making sure that family comes first for everything. And although you have your work family, you still need to make sure that not only you're balanced, but your team is balanced too, that they have those opportunities. But when work becomes not fun, then it's really going to start looking at, hey, okay, so what's happening here on that?
Yeah, no, that's, I completely, that I definitely relate to that, because, and especially as people who enjoy having fun, we get into this industry because we love fun, right? And so a lot of times, if like probably all of us here on this call and people listening, we're creative and we're passionate about these projects. They don't feel like work sometimes, and so that's which is wonderful. But then all of a sudden you're down that rabbit hole and you forget, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're so overly committed to whatever those tasks are. And then you realize like, wow, this is all on me at this point. And then you have to follow through. And if you have a great work ethic, you're not gonna not do it. You know what I mean? You're just gonna keep pushing yourself to make sure it's the best that it can be
Yep.
until afterwards you're like, I don't want to do that again. Oh, yeah. Have any of you also experienced personal like burnout personally in your lives at any point in your careers?
Oh, 100,000%.
I
Like, I would love to say, no, Annie, I've never had burnout.
have I
I,
have the best boundaries.
Uh,
Yeah, I'll say just on a personal basis, it was probably like 6 or 7 years ago, and we have basically a 90-day period in the summertime when things are go 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 from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and I think I had 2 days off that summer, and I got to the end of
Oh,
Labor
that's
Day,
awful.
and I'm like, oh my, I think I need a month to just step away, and I was just so
Oh,
emotionally, physically exhausted. And I look back, I say, oh, I made it through the summer, but I never want to experience that again. So just making sure now that I have, one day a week where I can step away and do something. And sometimes, you get around the holidays where you're going to go for 2 weeks, but then you're going to
yeah,
get time off. It's just something like that. It's just making sure there, for me, there's an appropriate amount of time where I can step away and just, the job will still be there. The team will keep it going. I just need to make sure that I can, step away and then come back strong for the team and let other people
mm-hmm,
do the same.
Oh yeah.
exactly. Justin, how about you?
Yeah, no, and first of all, I want to mention I'm so happy this is the topic of the month because burnout is real and burnout is scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as Scott mentioned, we're in the industry of fun and we're here to have a great time, and a lot of our team members tend to be very passionate individuals who live for that excitement. And me, in fact, one of the first times I experienced burnout, I go by the phrase like you have to love the chaos, right? You have to love when it's time to pivot and when all of these challenges get thrown your way. And that's the true fun of resort experience. Now, I remember most recently when I taken on this new property, River Ranch. This property, as we kind of chatted about before the call, has so much to offer, right? So there's a lot to do. And when I got here, such with excitement and eagerness, I said, all right, I'm going to take it on everything, every little opportunity area. We're going to tackle it. We're going to tackle it. And my first strategy was to do it all myself and to show the
Yeah,
team, hey, this is how you do it. This is how you host. This is how you program. This is how you fish, everything that you can think of. And then my day started to blur and I started to say, oh, wait, what's going on? I thought we were going for a weekend. Now it's been a month. And, just finding time to understand and to strategically program is going to be key when we talk burnouts because it's real, it happens, and it really turns into when you're so passionate, then all of a sudden you're dealt with all of the pressure. And I think
yeah,
or Megan said it best where it's really like that emotional disconnection where all of a sudden you go from being very passionate to kind of lost and disengaged with what's going on.
yeah. I feel like you're right. When you're so excited about it, you're so willing to do whatever it takes to make it great. But then you can't sustain that. It's like doing a marathon after a marathon after a marathon, and it really is not um the healthiest way to live, I would say.
Yeah.
It's just not sustainable. So well, really great insights, and and it's I'm glad to see. I'm not glad that I'm not the only one, but I recognize that it's a really challenging thing to avoid, especially in our industry. Like we were talking about at the beginning, um, outside of the weather, our industry too. I mean, we're there for the holidays, we're there for the weekends, but you also have to plan. So if you're in a position of leadership, you're planning all this stuff, but then you're also being required to be there for the rollout of it. So there's really not a lot of downtime built into this kind of side of things sometimes. So that's where, like what you said, Scott, like you recognized immediately, sure, I was charging ahead and forging and doing those 60 to 90 days, but really like you have to make sure that you're looking at your calendar and like blocking out time to protect yourself so that you can enjoy your family and like do the small things, or you can just sit on the couch and watch Netflix or whatever it is that you need to do to like disconnect and like let your body, kind of rest up. Um, so all of us manage staff and have managed various different staffs throughout the course of our careers. So what are some early red flags that you recognize amongst your peers or recognize amongst your staff that you watch out for in your team members for a shift in how they're doing?
I mean,
Yeah, I was like, I'll open it up for anybody.
you have to stop talking, Annie, because I'll just
I love it. I love it. Come on.
no. I mean, obviously it's different for everybody, but the better you know your team, the better, obviously the better it is. But one of the major things, especially, I could go into cruise ships, but specifically in resorts, the minute somebody starts sacrificing their personal time, I really like to nip that in the bud. Because overworking can seem like what the company wants, or it can seem like what you think. that your boss wants. And I always make a point in telling my team that is not what I want. I want a happy and healthy team that does things the right way, and burning yourself out is not going to be the way to do it, because once I see somebody starting, the irritation starts coming in, and
Mhm.
a little bit more snippy with the team than they usually are, or if they forget a deadline,
Yeah,
they get really emotional about it. It's just those the better like what is a normal reaction and what isn't a normal for them. You
right.
know, that's those are kind of, I guess, what I've seen on the ship is if they're refusing to leave the ship, I have a problem. I need to go
Yeah.
bang on the door and say, okay, time to go.
We're gonna go for a walk outside.
For me at Hawks K over COVID, I mean, I'm sure all of us had experiences of nearly wanting to just leave this industry forever after COVID. But taking people on walks and golf cart rides, once you see them start to like almost lose it with a guest, I was like, okay, let's take a break.
Yeah, yeah, like a simple request that would normally be, "Oh, sure, let me look into it," with, "Can you believe how they talk to me?" And you're like, "All
Yeah.
right, we're gonna dial that back a little," and yeah. We're gonna recognize that that may not be how we want to manage this one. Yeah.
Mm.
But I think you're right. I think you nailed it right in the beginning with what you said. If you're the type of manager that just manages from your desk and you don't know your people, you're never going to recognize it. And you're just going to think that they're being ridiculous or however you are perceiving it. But yeah, if you don't see it in their eyes, like when during our morning shift briefings, I always try to make a point to be here for 8:45 in the office with the line staff because I just kind of like to see and look at them. Like you just see like underneath, like are they getting like dark circles? How are they feel? Are they answering questions? Because we do trivia, we talk about our service steps that we have, and if everyone's just kind of like leaning on the floor or just kind of down, just their physical posture, and not that I'm a big cheerleader myself, like it takes me a while to get going in the morning, but you could feel right away like this is not going to be a good day.
Yeah.
We need to do something. We need to do snacks. We need to have a talk, like you said, go for even like a golf cart ride. I think that's great because they don't have to exert energy. They just get to go for a nice ride. So. Um, Scott or Justin, do you have anything that you tend to really look for with your staff as any early red flags?
Yeah, I mean, Megan hit it right on the nail when it comes to knowing your people, right? But I think a big one is that disengagement and the loss of joy, especially in the experience industry. We're all here to have a good time. Starts off with the team members. So when we're gearing up for an event and you notice whether it's a supervisor or line level who's just really out of it and not there, I think that's a really red flag indication that okay, something may be going on, whether it's burnout here in the workplace or even in their personal life. And, the golf cart ride is a true close to home hit, especially here at the ranch. We have many golf carts. So that's one of my go tos. I'm like, hey, right, right. But more so diving deeper, really normalizing check-ins with our team is one
Mm.
of our key hits to checking in on the burnout and checking in on our people. And I think what we see often in the industry is those one-on-one check-ins that are a little bit robotic are more so like, hey, how's it going? How's the last 30 days? Is there anything I can support you with? Alrighty, great checking in. But we really need to dive deeper and truly check in and say, no, how are you, Justin? How are you personally doing? Is there anything we can help you out with? And from doing that, like for example, here at the ranch, I make sure our trainers do training check-ins where they talk all about trainings, and then our supervisors do a little bit more of operational check-ins, and that leaves the manager and myself to check in on not just performance but also morale and safety and more hitting close to like their personal self. And having that true close connection with the team allows us to identify what's really going on and really render that support. I think, when we talk about burnout, before it was more like, oh, burnout, how to help burnout, work-life balance, right? But
Right.
what we want to focus on, and I think what's been where I'm a true advocate with is really creating that positive environment to where we're not just giving them the days off that they definitely deserve, but also ensuring that their role and responsibility is not overbearing for them, right? So they're able to work in an environment where they can breathe, they feel supported, and they have that passion that can be fulfilled. So definitely the signs are obvious. I think it starts off with the loss of joy and disengagement. And being able to be there for your team and be a people person and truly check in is going to be one of the true assets that helps identify and start to care for that burnout.
That's awesome. I like that you talked about the different levels of support that you have, and recognize that everybody has to be checking in on everybody else. So like I'm in a director role, I have a bunch of managers that I work with, and then they have a whole bunch of staff. But if I'm not talking to them, like I make a point to go right to the line staff a lot of times too, just to do my own personal check-in. But then I also am checking with the supervisors, the managers, so that we're all like, hey, I noticed this at lunch today. Have you heard anything? And then so that making sure that they're also paying attention to it, but we're all like, well, what can we do to help? Should we be doing something in the office? I think that the culture that you're cultivating at your property is great. And I think that also leads to the overall support system that's needed to be able to get through those kind of situations. And it also leads to my next question. So, at your properties, recreation leaders really do need to foster a culture that prioritizes mental health without sacrificing the higher service that we are all accustomed to providing. So how do each of you at your properties foster that culture? So Justin, you kind of answered that already. So I'll let Scott or Meg kind of jump into what you're doing, or also like what you've done at your other places that you worked at, because I'm sure you each do something different at the different places that you've been. Go for it.
Who wants to go? You want to go, Meg?
You go, Scott.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, trying to, what we work with here in our rec department, a lot of what we do is working with the younger kids, the 3 through 12 and young teens and stuff like that. So we're getting a lot of work on that. And we do interact we have some adult activities going on and some family activities where we're interacting with adults, but a lot of what we're doing is working with the younger populations of our members. And it's sometimes it's hard to be with those kids that you're going to see every day for 8 to 10 weeks. So just trying to make a variety of things for the staff to do, so they're not doing the same things over and over, that they can interact with different kids, do different activities, take them different places, just trying to keep the job, fresh in that sense. With our management staff is being able to go to some of those different activities. Okay, we're going to pull you away from camp for today so that you can experience some adult time instead of dealing with kids, because you've dealt with kids for the last 4 weeks and they're driving you.
Yeah.
So just being able to provide that variety is a big help towards just keeping everybody kind of level on that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Flexibility of schedule is really important. Recognizing like, oh, you've worked in the children's program for 3 weeks straight, and they're just like, please don't put me with another 4-year-old.
Yeah.
I need to go have an adult conversation.
Yeah, and also having time away too.
Yeah.
Is that we're as flexible as we can with. We've got a lot of younger counselors that are teenagers that are working with these kids, and the teenagers, their parents are planning their own things, and just being flexible enough to say, okay, yes, we can handle this week if you're going to be away on vacation. We can handle, you need this day off because you got a long weekend or something like that. But just having that flexibility on our end of things to be able to cover those times when they need to get away, and allow those times, and not say, hey, no, we're strapped here. You can't take this time off. I'm more of like, we'll make it work. We'll make it work so that you can have your time away, and just know that everybody else, will have their time away at some point in time too, so that you'll step up when other people have their time away.
Yeah, it's a whole support system.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, everybody's said such great things. I would say, like, what I like to try to do for my team is to prioritize, help prioritize services, to make sure that everybody doesn't feel completely overwhelmed. So again, I think part of what you were asking, Annie, is like, how do how do you balance the two between,
Yeah.
and sometimes you can go like you're not, you go one way and it's, you're two team members,
Too.
then you
Yeah.
get the guest, and the guest is here on a vacation to get rid of their burnout, right? And so it's how do you balance the two? But here's the thing: happy crew, happy guest, happy crew, happy guest. So helping prioritize services, and what services, quality over quantity, quality over quantity. And what I like to tell, I tell my team a lot, is like, if we can't do it well without stressing ourselves out, then we're doing too much. And we pare it down and understand what would be the best impact. What is the highest impact that we can do for the guest experience without sacrificing the team member experience? So thinking about the program strategically that way is really great. When I was early in my career, I did a lot of at-risk youth. And anybody listening working with at-risk youth will understand the level of burnout is just, it's very, very high. And they had a really great session with us one time about leaving work at work, and really when you're going home, that allow yourself that time to really obsess about work, allow yourself that time to say, like, I can't believe that didn't happen. I can't believe that 12-year-old, talked back to me or whatever. But then once you reach a certain point, you have to force yourself to stop thinking about it, because otherwise it's just going to continue to take over your life. So I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling. Annie, just tell me to stop.
No, you're not. I'm
Yeah.
very much like in line with you, because as you're talking about it, I'm doing a lot of self-reflection of like how I've evolved in my career over the past 23 years. And I feel like I still catch myself. I'm thinking of moments over the summer where it took me a whole 24 hours to disengage from like one situation. And because I was thinking about it when I got home, and then I ate dinner with my family, and then I continued to think about it over and over again while I'm
So
spending time with my children. And then I go to bed, but then I wake up in the middle of the night and my mind is still like grinding. And I've gotten significantly better over the years, but like it's one of those, it's really difficult because I think we keep saying it over and over again, but we're a people of passion. And when you are triggered by something and you really care, it's so hard to get your brain, because I feel like we've programmed ourselves to worry and to be better at it. So to be able to disengage and deprogram yourself it's really hard to do. But I think if you're entering the industry, you can almost start with those boundaries versus where we've all been in it for so long and we've had to learn the hard way, unfortunately. So, which I guess people do, but that's why we have these conversations and we're protecting and changing the culture for our staff now. Because I'm jumping ahead to one of my questions, but uh, is there a stigma around burnout? I think there for sure is. I remember when I first started, and I was 20, I think, when I started working in a resort. You weren't really like supposed to be asking for extended time off at all. You were expected to work the entire season. My staff would never, like, that would never happen now. Like, we do exactly what you said, Scott, and like all of you, like, you need 5 days for your annual trip to Maine. Sure, we will make that happen because we want like happy staff, because when you come back, you're going to be ecstatic and the guests are going to have this amazing time, instead of being like, we can't hire you because you want to take time off. Like, like that was, I even remember our director at the time, she wanted to go away for, I don't even know what it was. It wasn't even that long. It was like 6 days. And they told her no, because this is the busy season. And she's like, but we have the most staff. Like, I don't understand why I can't take off. Like, it just is such a backwards, it was just asking for everybody to be burnt out. And then it also expected them to get over it, like, well, this is just how it is, kind of a thing. And I just find that to be so silly. And it's just like you're setting yourself up for failure if that's how you're going to manage people. You know what I mean? So I'm glad to hear that like everybody else is so much more accommodating too, because I don't think it used to be like that. I think it used to just be deal with it. And this, if you want the job, this is how it is, kind of a thing. So yeah, I don't know.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's definitely evolved. Absolutely has evolved. I would say, from when the time that I was in, in the past like 10 years or so. By the time I was at Hawks K, it was very much the culture of work-life integration rather than work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
And while there's something to be said for integration, if people are all about that, that's great if that works for people. But I think there's definitely a shift in culture now to really being mindful of your time, because it does equal results. It does equals less, turnover rate, because people now coming into the workforce will not tolerate that sort of thing. Their priorities are different. I think that's wonderful, and I feel like from just my small perspective that I see it changing the work culture, which has definitely been needed.
And I don't think your perspective is small, by the way. Okay, so let's continue to talk about strategies and solutions. So what are specific, I know we talked about flexibility of schedule and all of that, but what are some other things that you all have done over the years to help make it a little easier for your staff to be able to bounce back from any kind of burnout, whether it was something that you did for yourself? I feel like there's small things that we try to do here at the Mountain House. So like myself, I'll go and buy, this is gonna sound so tacky, but like I do this throughout a couple times during the summer, but like I'll go and buy like those little snack packs, and I do it out of my own, but like my own personal Annie budget, not the Mountain House budget. But the staff will come in and Tyler, our manager, he'll buy donuts, but I'll buy chips and popcorn and all this, and just like little things. And it doesn't cost a lot of money, but they come in and they're so excited. They're like, "Ooh, what kind of snacks do we have today? Ooh, what are we doing? Ooh, what's the occasion?" And we don't have a breakout room in our office. It's just like, I mean, if you could see my office right now, it's mostly like storage with a desk. But we're not a guest facing space, I should say. That's how I like to describe it to people. But I think those small little gestures too, because they need that. And I'm sure you do it down in Florida where it's super hot, but we're like, buy like a case of Gatorade for the staff on those like mega hot days. Like I know last week I feel like Florida broke a couple records with heat. It was like 104 degrees in some places. Like Tampa, I think broke a record a week or two ago. And you're just like the little things that you're doing to try to make sure that like they're taking care of themselves, that they see that you're trying to take care of them, and not even just like the hey, how are you? It's like, what else can I get you? Like, what else do you need to make your day better? What, so that they're knowing that they're being looked after and they're not just like, well, this is it. This is how we're doing things today. So it's hot. Try to stand in the shade. No, it's not gonna work. We also have a service program. So we have 14 service steps that we talk about on a daily basis. We talk about one service step a day. But part of that is not only just about maintaining the high service standards, but having conversations about how are we going to be able to get there when we have certain things up against us today, whether it's the weather or some 3 people are injured and we're down some staff. How are we going to rally to make sure that the 600 guests that are checking in are all going to be happy tomorrow, because even though we're limping along as a group, kind of a thing. So I like to bring them in that conversation and not just tell them what we're going to be doing. It's like, all right, well, this is our anticipated plan. What do you think about this? How are we going to be able to do this? Do you feel like we can get there? And make them know that they're as much a part of this process as possible. I think that really helps make them understand that it's not just me in here and them out there. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Like they're a part of the thing.
Yeah, because they are. Like
Right.
we're so reliant on our line staff. I mean, we wouldn't be able to function without them,
Yeah,
So,
being listening to feedback and actually listening to it and implementing when you can is really impactful for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't envy Justin down in the heat of River Ranch over these past few weeks. How did your how did your outdoor team handle all of that? I can tell you how mine did, but it's been a really a crash course in literal burnout and metaphorically and literally.
Physically.
Oh yes. Yeah, and I mean, I think you said something that's so important, which is just simply the little things, such as giving them some of the lollipops or donuts in the morning, right? Or Gatorades. As the famous TED Talk goes, just lead with lollipops. I don't know if anyone's heard it here, right? But that's something that we've done almost daily, and what I encourage our leadership team to show our team that not only are we there with them, but here are some extra resources that we thought about and we want to give. For example, Tampa reached the high temperatures, and what I like to say is Florida's hot, guys, but River Ranch tends to be a little hotter. So something that me and the manager did last week is we jumped into a lifeguard uniform and we walked the park and we walked our adventure park, and we had a cooler on our golf cart and we had little like liquid IVs, some fruit cups, and a few different things, and just gave it out to not only our team members but team members at the resort, and showcase like, hey, we are here, we're paying attention, we're in the heat too, and it's
Yeah.
important to take care of yourselves, right? Now, um, something I do want to speak on, like line level is a huge focus, and we always focus on like, hey, how can we make sure they're safe? How can we make sure they're not burning out? And a challenge that I took on a few years ago is we hyper focused on our line level, and I almost didn't realize that our leaders are just burning out, focusing on making sure that the team's good, and now the leaders are not well. So something that we do, and I've done at different resorts, and here at the ranch we call it the supervisor saddle up, where each morning we saddle up with the team and we talk about the operational day as well as what the supervisors may need. And I think a key point when it comes to helping with burnout for a leadership level is sharing the schedule ahead. So, for example, here at the ranch, we not only have an intensive activity program, but we get caught off guard sometimes with a lot of group sales, right? And by caught off guard, I mean it may be last minute where a big group books for next week, and now we're scheduled to do a lot of their activities and team buildings. So we like to share a lot of information to our team if available, so they can kind of plan ahead and know what to expect instead of getting truly caught off guard.
I
Yeah,
think that's really good. Yeah. I'm sorry, Meg, you go. I just was thinking like that mental like digestion that has to take place. Because that's
Yes.
sometimes the hardest part is that like the pivot, like being able to be like, oh, okay, it's happening. And then when they think that their day is gonna go a certain way and they're stuck in that, that kind of makes it that like
yeah.
uncomfortable, and then they don't transition out of it well, and it just kind of like ruins the rest of the day, kind of a feeling. So yeah.
No, 100%. And you said it. You said it right, Justin, when you mentioned making sure the scheduling is out, because providing those basics, and it seems like, oh, that's just a basic thing everybody should do, but a lot, you tend to forget those things when bigger things come into mind, and if you lose focus on providing the basics that your team needs, it's going to be easier for them to get into burnout, at the leader level or the line leader level. So, making sure their schedules are out on time, and what sort of tools do they have. It doesn't have to be anything that's, um, you know, revolutionary with
Yeah, exactly.
really making sure those things are in place, and placing a huge importance on that is I think is one of the best ways.
Yeah. What do they call it? KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Um, but what was I gonna say? I just had it in my head. Okay, so heading into this season, is there any kind of training or any long-term plans that any of you do? Like, do you plan out ahead of time that like at this point in this summer season or whatever your peak season happens to be, if you're listening to this, that you're like, I know at this point I'm gonna start losing staff. This is when they start to really like wither for whatever reason. Do you plan any kind of um, gatherings or special treats, or I don't want to say party, or a party, or any kind of like pep rally or anything like that for your people? Yeah. Does anyone do anything like that?
Oh, for
Yeah, so I'll jump on it. So here we have, I love training, so we have trainings for almost anything. Um, and to kind of start off talking a little bit about the training and dive into some of the celebrations we have, we host a training program called On Stage Hospitality. And a big part of this training program is to emphasize that yes, our expectations are for the team to put on their on stage presence and be very out there and energetic and have a good time all the time. But inside of that classroom setting, we also emphasize, hey, we understand this is hard, and we understand, when we expect you guys to be the magic makers each and every day, burnout can come and sad moments can arise, and we are here for you. And throughout our training program, we emphasize on all of the resources and tools that the leadership has to go ahead and offer to the team, as well as talking about how they can best perform while taking care of themselves. Now, something that we used to do quarterly, and now we've kind of transitioned to a monthly basis, is a team rodeo. So ultimately it's a team meeting, but we call it rodeo because, hey, we're on a ranch.
I
Where
thought it
we,
was a real rodeo. I got really
yeah,
excited.
imagine hop on a horse and have a good time, team. No. Sometimes we host it at the rodeo arena here, and it's where all of our team members from the resort experience departments come together, and we go over typical updates, information, do a few hands-on training, but we also theme it each time. So sometimes
Okay.
we have a potluck, sometimes it's like wear your crazy pajamas that are work appropriate, right? And a few little basic themes that, what I've recognized is we can say like, hey, we're going to make this the Grammys theme. So you can dress up in a suit and tie and people will love it. Or you can wear a funny bow tie this week and people will love it, right? So just adding a little themes to our all team meetings have helped boost the morale and give a little bit of excitement for, hey, I can't wait for this next meeting to be with everyone, eat good food, and have a good time while learning.
Supporting them. I think that's great.
I like the rodeo. I'm a little
Right.
disappointed. Actual rodeo, Justin, but it's okay.
I know. We're working on it. Maybe next year.
So we, right before the season kicks off, it's sort of like a pep rally, but I'm at a historic hotel. We actually have a literal parlor. So we have what we call the parlor games, and each year there's a different theme, and we've been doing it for almost 15, maybe more years. It's probably more than that. And I should know the answer. But regardless, it's been different things. Like one year it was candy. Um another year it was like football. We've done Wizard of Oz. We've done all sorts of themes. And each year there's like we have a whole service committee that goes around and they recruit from all the different departments. I think it's 4 people from each section, sometimes more. Like food and beverage obviously is more of a vaster our reach than our area. But they come and they represent their team, and then the teams actually are given like a stipend to dress up in costumes based off of whatever that theme is. So they've done like NASCAR and stuff like that. So it's really fun. We deck out the whole place with decorations. We theme it out. Like one year they did like a WrestleMania kind of thing. So we had like a whole wrestling rink in the parlor, and everybody got called out. And they had an MC. And one of the staff members had a one of those T-shirts with like the bikini on it, and so she was like the round, the numbers like round one person. It was very funny, it was also very funny because it's not very mohawked, but we're very Quaker, but anyway, the point of this is it was a nice rev up to the season because our president, our CEO, one of our HR representatives, they come and they talk to the staff and they give them kind of a prep rally kind of speech, a lay of the land for how business is going for the year so far. And then they talk service and just about like what their hopes and our goals are and things like that. And it's super fun and it's competitive and they win money and stuff like that. So that is always really helpful. But we haven't really done anything big in August because it's so hard at that point because everybody has to be on the floor and that's when the most amount of our guests are here. So we do these smaller programs and we tend to do them like once a month, and we'll do it like right outside where the cafeteria is on our property. And they either do some kind of game, some kind of activity, but we try to focus on whatever the service step is. So like escort guests to their destination. Don't point it out, walk them there if it's practical. But we'll do something so it doesn't feel so it's a little bit more engaging. It's a little more fun. A lot of our international staff get into it. The last one that we did was about escort guests to their destination. So we made it like a whole movie theme. And they were helping direct like a scene, like they had somebody come out and demonstrate positive and poor behavior. And they really liked it because they felt like they were part of the process and not being put on the spot per se. And they liked being able to sit and chat with people that they don't really know at other areas. Like someone from the sales department got to engage with kitchen staff and things like that, where they wouldn't normally, really even see or know each other. So I think that really helps, but also it can be hard. Like we have an upcoming program, and I'm sure we're going to get a schedule out soon about who can volunteer, because it's all if you have the time to help participate in it. And I'm already like, I don't know, am I going to have time? Like, I don't know if I can even help out with this, because you start to lose those numbers and start to worry about that quality that we're trying to maintain at the same time. So
Right.
it's a balancing act, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, 100%. At when I was working on board, and some of the things that they do on board for burnout and to keep morale up is really strategic. And so if you can imagine going through your season, whichever season it is, and how hard that is, and you're working a lot of overtime, and maybe you're working 7 days a week sometime. But when you're on board, you're doing that for like at the probably about 4 to 6 months. Probably some people are on board 9. So it's the having strategically placed engagements for the team was really important, and for the our and I'm directly quoting the captain. Okay, so this is not what I said. This is what the captain. These monthly meetings, and we would have bigger meetings when we were just about to have like a challenging cruise. So challenging cruise, either it's really high occupancy, but historically the holiday cruise historically is the worst cruise ever, because the expectations are super high. A lot of times people go on cruises or vacations because they're emotionally trying to get away from something else. And so these guests are the most difficult. And the captain says, we all know that these guests are everybody's family's least favorite children. Harsh. He says, but we're a team. We're going to get through it. We're going to make these guests happy as they can be. And then he would talk about what we're going to do after. And there was always like a party afterwards, after the cruise, or like something going on. Yeah. Whether that be donuts in the morning, but for on board, it was usually opening up a new space for the team to be at, which they normally aren't, because when you're a crew member on board, some tiers of employment, you're not allowed in certain spaces. And so going to like the Serenity deck was like a huge thing, and people would go, and it's very, very little thing to do, but people would look forward to it. So, but besides that, that's a really extreme example. But what I try to like take from that for resorts that I'm working in now is that knowing, like, example, we are going through a really, really hot summer. Justin and I both understand the impact on our outdoor teams and our water parks during this unprecedented time, which is to make sure that we have something planned for the team when we do see a break that they can look forward to, whether that's the rodeo. And I wish I had a rodeo, Justin, but but anything like a team get together, a potluck, or something that we can get them excited about, just to have a token somewhere that we can look forward to, whether that's, hey, put in your time off requests, let's make sure you're getting time off, or we're going to have an ice cream social, or we're going to go experience something at a different resort, whatever it is.
I think that's awesome. I remember going to a casino once a couple years ago, I think it was before 2020, so it was more than a couple years ago. But I was watching, they had their staff rally around in this section of the corner of like where the slots were, and they had a straight up like what felt like almost like a high school pep rally, where they were like chanting and clapping together, and they sang a song, and they did all this stuff, and it was so high energy. And I remember like almost like gravitating towards it, because I was like, that looks really fun. And that's for this. Matt is my husband. He was like, that's for the staff. Like, that's not for you. And I was like, I'm watching, and I was like, that's not something we could ever do at the Mountain House, like in front of our clientele. You know what I mean? But I
Right.
just thought it was so cool, because they just took the time to just stop. It was 5 minutes. That's all it took, was 5 minutes. They just focused on their people. They made eye contact. If there could have been confetti, I wouldn't have been surprised if there was, because that was like the kind of high energy fun that they were having. And then everybody just kind of dispersed and went back to doing whatever they needed to do. And I was like, yeah, you just like need that like
Mm.
team rally, sometimes, even if you don't have the internal energy to like create it yourself as like a line staff member or a supervisor, if somebody else can like do that to like make everybody feel good for 5 minutes, I think it goes a long way. So,
Yeah. So I will say, I know we've been talking about this for a little bit now, but I'm sure most resorts and organizations host some sort of town hall where they go over important updates. And with Westgate Resorts, we have town halls at all of our properties. And recently, probably about a year ago, I poked at my GM and I said, hey, let's have activities host the resort's town halls. And he was like, all right, we'll give it a shot. Just make sure we can still go over our important updates. And we've transitioned a town hall that was mainly just like, hey team, let's go over some updates, to a pet rally environment where we now have front office agents and groundskeepers who are diving into this room, jumping up and down, getting high fives, putting costumes on with loud music, that to some they may not be used to on a day to day, but get that feeling of wow, our resort's pretty cool. We're having a good time, and taking a moment where we may just have to go over some basic updates, but adding more of a hosting vibe to it,
mhm.
where you're like, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to town hall. That's something that we've done here for our all team member meetings at the resort, and oh man, it's changed the game.
That's so fun. I love that. Like I got excited listening to you describe that, because like we have we do like a Winter Olympics. We started it when the last Winter Olympics was in the world. And so since then we've been doing it every winter, and the staff show up with like the funniest costumes for it. And I was imagining two of our maintenance guys who are historically the funniest guys, and you interact with them on the floor and they're great, but then when you saw them in this element, I was imagining them at your town hall dressed in their like inflatable like cowboy costumes and just like having like the best time and then going back to work.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah.
And just for the sake of those listening, something that really helped me in my career is having that type of atmosphere for the daily stand-ups with the team, right? To share a brief story, I remember when I started about just maybe 9 years ago, I had two supervisors, one who will come in with shades on, a hoodie on, and I tell the story all the time. The lights will be off, and she would say, all right, welcome in team, just head out to the park and I'll be out there soon. And then I would have one supervisor who at the time was very annoying, but he would have music playing, he'd be like, hey, screaming almost. And what that done to me is I remember being like, oh, I'm so tired. But hey, I have to be here for the next 8 hours, and he has positive energy. So let me gravitate towards that and have a positive attitude myself. So I'd like to share that story with my leaders now and say, we have such a positive opportunity to make an impact on our team, or such a large opportunity to make an impact. And being able to lead with positivity truly helps boost that morale and allows team members to feel excited to conquer their day. To where maybe if they're on the verge of burning out, they could feel a little bit more like, whew, okay, this is a good time. Let me embrace the spirits and have some fun here at work.
I think you're right. Yeah, like a self-check, I think is important. Like you have to,
Indeed.
once you get here, be like, no, I have to, I'm the one that's here to make sure that they're good to go. So if I'm not feeling it, I gotta figure out a way to get your head around it. And even if you just fake it for like those 2 minutes or however long the team check-in is, and then you can like sit back and be like, all right, I need to go talk to a friend. I need to go, is my boss here? I have to tell him about something that happened yesterday because clearly I'm still bothered by it. Or if even if it's not a friend that's like at your workplace that you can talk to in person, I think phone a friend or text, because for me, if I can't get over those mental rocks or whatever it is you want to call it that's like blocking the way to like progress, um it really will affect the rest of my day, and then it affects the team. Like the staff feel the energy coming off of you if something goes wrong. They see that you're not responding the way that like you normally would, and it turns into I see it here, like if I can't get through whatever's bugging me, that becomes like a ripple effect, um and yeah, it's self-recognition and self-check, and I think that leading by example is really important. So like if
Oh,
you're
yes.
having some tough stuff, like you have to figure out what your resources are, whether at your property or in your community or at your house that can like help you figure out. And just, and honestly, I think sometimes just talking to people really makes a huge difference. So
Indeed.
yeah.
Yeah. I like to tell my supervisor team that yes, it is hard to continue to set the tone,
Yeah, you can't
but
be like the happy
yeah,
person all the time. That's not
um,
normal.
yeah, exactly. But the important thing we would emphasize here is you go out sometimes, as you mentioned, you may have to fake it a little bit, but if you're in that moment, I always encourage them, hey, inside of my office, you can scream, shout, let it all out, talk to me. But when we're talking with the team, you may have to put on that front to ensure that we move forward. All
Yeah,
right, but always allowing those opportunities to journal, speak, take some time off is going to be so important. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and those
So
connections within the industry are really important, right? Like having colleagues that that understand what you're going through. And this is such an sometimes can be such a niche industry. It's really great to have RecNet, not to just tie it back into membership, but
no,
um,
you're right.
it,
That's exactly what
it
I was thinking.
it's I really when I first joined at Hawks K, and that was such a stressful position. And Justin, when I first joined it, it was very similar to the situation you're in right now, where it's just you're going in, you want to tackle everything, right? And it's because it's a new it's for me it was a new location and there was a lot to do and a lot of enthusiasm. But I mean, I was introduced to RecNet at that time when I was like, nobody else does what I'm doing here. Well, you look the National Recreation Association is good for some industries, but it just wasn't necessarily what I was doing. So it's really been very helpful to be able to connect and with different experience leaders to really get everybody's feedback and what are they doing. And I remember reaching out and putting on the board one time, how are we getting people not to reserve chairs?
Yes, I remember you doing that because I was like, oh, this is definitely a Southern problem because we don't,
Yeah.
I don't oversee a pool. Like we have a pool, but
Uh,
like we don't, it's not to the level to which like you and Gary and Shannon when she was in industry and everyone else where that's like such like a legitimate cultural problem that exists. So yeah. I what was I gonna say? Okay, so as we wind down, um, I want to give you each an opportunity, and you can think for a second while as I'm asking the question. But what's one piece of advice that you would give a recreation professional feeling the early signs of burnout? How would you, if someone came to you and they're starting to feel it, how would you help them along? I know we talked about a lot of different things, and obviously this is a fictitious person, so you don't know them personally. Um, but even just, or if you don't want to go that route, just like some quick golden nuggets as a way to end the call for those that are listening. That if they're experiencing something right now, how would you give them some maybe three things or some takeaways that they can think about? To help make themselves feel a little bit better, to be able to maintain that passion in the industry too, because that's a part of this. We want the good ones to stay. We want the Justins and the Megans and the Scotts all to remain in this industry, because you're all making an impact. But there's it can be really tricky. So, um, Scott, you look like you want to say something.
For me, the important thing is to find something that you can use to release that stress, whatever it is that you have, whether you want to go on a 20-mile bike ride, or you want to go a 10-mile hike, or you want to just sit in your house and read a book or listen to an audio book. Find something that's going to take you away from those stress, allow you to relax, and be able to do that on a regular basis so that, I have a 35-minute drive to work, and I have found audiobooks. I mean, I've piled through 50 audiobooks in the past year, and I
That's
just
cool.
wait to drive to work because I'm getting into my audiobook, and I know that's a prelude to getting to a good day of work. And when I come to the end of a story, I'm just like, wait, I've got to find another book. I think just finding something that just takes you into that zone or out of the zone that you need to be, is huge. And it can be whatever it is that is set for you, and it's going to be different for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I would say, honestly, I know I have been there. I have reached the point of burnout and I have been burnt out. I've, switched positions. And I would say to whoever might be struggling with reaching burnout and just thinking that it's just, oh, why did I get into this industry? To take a break before you react. Take some time for yourself before making a decision based on stress. Fall back in love with the industry, whatever that is, because you got into this. People get into this industry because they like to have fun and they like to bring those experiences. And if you're feeling like this is way too much for me and just emotionally overwhelmed, then just take a step back, find something outside of the industry that you can kind of lean on, especially to what you said, is just, find a way to release that stress so you can come back with an open mind. And if the decision is to make another route, then so be it. But at least give yourself a moment to be stressed and to release it before making any sort of rash decisions.
Yeah, I think that's really, really, really key, because I remind myself too that there's certain times of the year where I'm not allowed to make big life decisions
No.
because I know that I'm stressed out about
Yeah.
something at work that I don't want to do, but I have to do because it's part of my job. And I know it's not bad, but like a certain holiday maybe that you really just don't want to do, but you know that you're committed,
Yep.
and you still have to show up and show up happy.
Yep.
But yeah, I wait, I wait at least like a week until after that goes through before I'm like, whatever it is, because I just know myself at this point, like it's almost cyclical for me. So
For sure.
sorry.
Yes.
No, 100%. And just making sure that you're setting healthy boundaries with your work. You love it and it's a passion, but passion can still be there the next morning. So go home.
It's so true.
Like,
No,
it's
it's so
so-
true. I had friends that I remember talking to them and they're like, no, I'm going to be here till like 10:30 tonight. I'm like, why? I don't want to be at work that
No.
late. I was like, oh, is there a big event that you're required to be there for? They're like, no, my staff just need me. I'm like, they shouldn't. You should
Mm.
build confidence in them and prepare them for that, because there's zero reason why a director should be working 12 hours routinely all the time. I just could never work that kind of job. I would hate it. So
Nope.
yeah. Sorry, Justin.
Oh yeah, no, I think you both nailed it perfectly. And a piece of advice that goes kind of over everyone's heads is to truly speak up before it gets too late, right?
Mm.
And the downside of experienced professionals is a lot of people unfortunately don't understand how difficult our roles are, right? So
Mhm.
if you vent per se to an average Joe, they might think, well, man, aren't you just a fun director?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you just have fun? Why is it so stressful, right?
Is it a bingo
So
emergency?
Mhm.
exactly. So being able to connect with professionals alike and get that reassurance has helped me be able to say, okay, just getting it out there, venting to someone who understands and getting their little pieces of advice based on whatever matter it may be has been so crucial in my success. And I think, so kind of to just second what Megan said, finding that passion again and taking a step or a moment to say, wait a second, this is why we're here. This is what we love to do is key. I remember early on, about 4 years into my hospitality career, I said, hey, I've been doing hospitality for the last 4 years. Let me see what else is out there. I'm kind of bored. Maybe I want to go into real
Mhm.
estate. And I actually joined project management and I absolutely hate it. Right. I'd say this story in a lot of meetings. I'm like, it wasn't for me. I was in construction and I was like, I can do this job, but I truly hate what I'm doing right now. And I remember sitting on a roof and I was like, I love to make people happy. I love to have a good time, and I love to be able to create something from nothing and see our guests and team members have fun. So let me go chase that again, right? And for me, it was that moment that helped me realign. But what I tell my teams and some leaders is to always find that moment where you can kind of pause your life and just take a day and say, why do I do what I do? And always remembering that why behind your purpose is going to be key because, passion goes a long way, but if you're drilling passion, 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 then you're going to get burnt out. You always have to remember why. Like I know I love the chaos and I love our guests, so I'm going to be in this industry for as long as I can be. And that helps me always realign and know this is exactly why we do what we do.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the three of you taking your time out of your busy work schedules at your properties. I know that you're all grinding, you may be winding down, but it does mean a lot to me that you carved out the time to do this with me. So I really appreciate it. You're all experts in your field, and I think you all had a lot of really great insights. And I hope everyone listening remember Scott, Megan, and Justin because they are really phenomenal people in our recreation and experience industry. And you want to reach out to them, I'm sure we can help figure out a way to do that. If you are interested in any of our other RecNet Roundtable podcasts, they're all on our website that you can listen to. We also have some other resources available where we just did one recently with emergency preparedness it's a tough word to say, preparedness, preparedness, where Megan and Justin actually were on that one as well. And they led a really great roundtable conversation about that as we are full on in and getting closer to hurricane season, and there are a lot of other more equally serious emergencies that have been happening around the globe and within the United States this past summer. So the more you know and the better prepared you can be. So if you're interested in that, you'll be able to find that, I think, on our website as well. And yeah, and I thank you, and I hope you all have a great day. And hopefully, if you have any questions, you can always email us at info@rcra.org. And then the other website is info@rec-network.org as well. And all right, and have a great rest of your summer and keep your chins up.